Well, it's great to be here in one of our stations, and we'll be back for a press conference on capital outlay needs and to talk about some of the things we're doing. But today, we really actually want to focus on cancer and its relationship, unfortunately, to the men and women who are first responders in our city, and especially firefighters. This is a very serious issue that is very unique to fire in many ways. It's something actually that I've been working on almost 10 years now. I think Diego and I started working on this issue. I always forget the new name. It was presumptive causation. Is that what we ended up with? Yeah. So for me, I learned a lot about this from many of you. And it's something that I think the public is not generally aware of, and that's why it's particularly important that we share with you the information that we're going to talk about today. So as mayor, of course, my top priority is public safety as a city, and that's as true as it was last year when I started as it is today. And our firefighters and police officers are those who run towards dangerous situations to protect our community, literally. And in part of that job, and part of that dedication that they dedicate their careers and their lives to in some cases, unfortunately, cancer becomes an issue. And so among firefighters, this is all too prevalent nationwide. And this has to do, of course, with exposure to carcinogens in the course of fighting fires. Cancer caused 61% of career firefighters' line of duty deaths from January 2002 to 2017, according to national statistics. This also hits close at home right here in Albuquerque. We have 8 active firefighters in their 20s and 30s who have been diagnosed with cancer. Hearing about the cancer dangers for our firefighters is extremely troubling, both to our community, our administration, and even for me as mayor. And that's why it's important for myself and our CEO, Srita Nair, and our chief, who's going to speak next, Chief Dow, to do everything we can to implement best practices to try and prevent cancer among AFR crews. Now this time last year, AFR put together a transition team that included members from all ranks of the department. And they identified a number of priorities, including health and safety among first responders. And we also developed concrete strategies to address these priorities, which became the foundation for our administration's plan, not only for AFR, but for also trying to prevent cancer among the ranks. We also worked with the International Association of Firefighters to learn best practices for prevention and implementation that can happen right away. So over the last 8 months, the chief and I and Srita, we have wasted no time in implementing every measure that we're going to talk about here with you today. And we hope that in many ways, but also in this way, our AFR will be a role model for the rest of the country. So our department has actively pursued grant opportunities to also support these efforts and necessary equipment to help with cancer prevention as well. And the state has also stepped up with laws to help firefighters to get medical care as they face long-term health effects with their career in service for our community. So we're going to continue to do all that. We're also going to continue to call upon the new state administration to join with us to continue to fight cancer among firefighters. So to tell us more about the specifics of these programs, our AFR Chief Dow. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, CEO Nair, for your support. I also want to start off and recognize the two gentlemen over here to my right. It's Captain Craig Deal, Battalion Chief Alex Montero, and Battalion Chief Bob Lujan. The two chiefs used to be our health and safety officers for the last couple of years, and then Captain Deal is our health and safety officer right now. None of this would have been possible without their dedication to this program. They have worked tirelessly to find ways to help our firefighters and reduce that exposure to carcinogens. So I just appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. So just like what the mayor talked about, cancer is an epidemic in the fire service. And today's structure fires are more dangerous than ever before. Although we don't have as many structure fires as we did maybe 20, 30 years ago, the fires that we do respond to burn hotter, they burn faster, and it's because of the fuels inside. And if you think about that, most of the houses 20, 30 years ago, they had natural fibers, they had solid wood furniture. But that's not the case today. Now you're looking at synthetics and a lot of plastics, and they burn at a higher temperature, and they give off acrolein, benzene, hydrogen cyanide, carbon monoxide, and these deadly carcinogens that our firefighters are exposed to. and that's what's killing our firefighters. We work tirelessly with the IFF and the International Association of Fire Chiefs as well to find and identify these best practices and then implement them in our department. And you can see these lists over here on the side from IFF and IFC. And I'm proud to say that we're actually achieving all of these best practices right now. Some of the things we've done is to change the culture in our department. Now, many years ago, having a dirty fire helmet or dirty bunker gear was something that you wore like a badge of honor. And when people saw that, they saw that that was a crusty captain or a firefighter, and they've been to a lot of fires, and that was a good thing. We no longer see it that way, because that's carcinogens that you're exposing yourself to, you have on your gear, and you're exposing your skin to that, and that's what's causing that cancer. So we've identified ways to prevent that in decontamination procedures. And these new decon procedures were developed by the men and women at Station 1B, and that's a policy that we're going to implement over the next few weeks and train all of our members on, so that they can decon at those structure fires, get all that dirty gear off, and bag it up, and then we get it cleaned at the corporate facility. We've also worked with the state, and we just received a grant for new fire hoods, and this is an example of one of the hoods. These are the latest NFPA standard fire hoods, and they have an additional barrier on the inside. Different organizations, including UL and NIST, identified that firefighters were getting cancer a lot of times exposed from their neck and their face and their hands. And these hoods will help prevent that exposure from carcinogens. We're also looking for washers and dryers to install those in our fire stations. We received a generous donation from IFF, and we appreciate that. And we're going to start phase 1 of that project. It's going to install washers and dryers at 9 of our fire stations. And just like when our firefighters go to those structure fires, their gear is exposed, but a lot of times their t-shirts and the pants that they're wearing are also exposed. We don't want them to take that home and wash it in the same washer and dryer as they wash their children's clothes and the rest of their family. We want them to wash it at the fire station, and then they can go ahead and take that equipment home. We also purchased a new ladder. Ladder 5 will be here in about 11 months, and that is the first apparatus that Albuquerque Fire Rescue will have that is considered a clean cab, which means we don't put the SCBAs inside the cab, and we're not going to have dirty bunker gear inside the cab. All the seats are going to be vinyl, so you can clean it easier, and it's just something that NFPA is also recommending, so it's another best practice that we've implemented. One of the bigger programs that we've done is medical exams. So we've been working with City Risk, City Administration, and now we're going to have annual physical exams for every one of our firefighters, which is absolutely amazing. It used to be just every other year, and years ago it was every 5 years. So this is a huge step for us to move to it every single year. We're going to have additional testing, blood screening for cancer, and it actually meets NFPA 1582 standards for annual physicals. Another problem that we also have is carcinogens in diesel exhaust. So although the truck behind me is a new truck and it meets the new emission standards, a lot of our older trucks don't. And if they're the Detroit diesels, some of the older trucks that are about 7 or 8 years old, the exhaust that they give off has a lot of benzene, a lot of cancer-causing agents inside of it. So we put these airbag 911 systems in here. They're scrubbers, and they clean the air inside. But the issue we've had is the barrier between the dirty bay here and then the clean environment where our firefighters live. It was so porous. We only had one door. So we installed interstitial spaces in between there, which is similar to the bird enclosure you see at the zoo. It's got 2 doors, and it keeps a nice barrier between the dirty apparatus bay and then the clean living environment for our firefighters. And so we just finished that project as well. There's still more we have to do. We've got to work on additional bunker gear for our firefighters, additional cancer screening as well, more apparatus clean cabs. There's no smoke vehicle exhaust systems that we put in a grant for, we didn't get, but we're going to keep applying for that as well. And then of course working with the state and the presumptive causation legislation. So we've come a long way, and I appreciate all of our partners, our health and safety officers, our city administration, and we're making it a safer environment for our firefighters, and hopefully we will not have as many active firefighters or retired firefighters that have cancer from Albuquerque Fire Rescue. Thank you all for coming today. Do you have any questions?
Was this all paid for with one grant or multiple grants, and how much?
So the interstitial spaces was actually paid through some of our GO bond money. And that is about $110,000, and that was doing 22 fire stations. Some of them it was just a few $1,000s for a couple of doors. Others it took a little more money depending on the remodel we had to do at the station.
How hard is it as a chief when you get to use a
It just deflates me. It's something that I feel like we can prevent and we can do better. It's hard to sit there with one of your firefighters and talk to them about the process they're going to have to do to get FMLA, to get treatment, and then you know what that road looks like. I've sat with our firefighters when they're receiving chemotherapy and they're nodding off and they're trying to recover, and it's terrible. And I don't want to see it again.
Firefighters know these risks going into it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Our firefighters from the academy, now we're teaching it. We've done refreshers with our firefighters. They know the dangers. We have posters on the walls. We talk to firefighters. We're changing our culture. And as you know, to change any culture is very difficult. One of the things we have is like baby wipes at our fire scenes. And so on the trucks, the men and women wipe their face down, they wipe their hands down, and try to get those carcinogens off of them. And we also try to encourage them to get back to the fire station after those structure fires and what we call shower within the hour. Get all those carcinogens off you so it's not absorbed to the skin. It takes time. Any other questions? All right, thank you all for coming.